Yes, today everyone is Genius, and what we're going to do is make today's t-shirt design, which is going to be insane. I think I'm going to do insane apparel, and it's going to be a simple text workup. So what we've done now is got our text on the screen, and we're going through all of our fonts to examine which one is going to be the best one. And I'm slowly just scrolling through each font until I find the font that I'm looking for by hitting the down arrow. And what I'm looking for is N with a very wide space, and you'll see why in just a second. Now, as I'm going through, I'm actually finding fonts that I like for other things. So what I'm going to do is Control Enter to accept that font, and then hit the V to go to my Move tool and hold Alt and drag to just create a new text layer. Then I'll hit T, go back to my text layer that I just created, and character palette, and make it larger. And I will also change it back to the word I'm looking for, make it much larger, move it into place and make it larger, and then I'll continue going through the fonts. So I found something that's feasible for what I'm looking for, and I'm gonna accept this particular font because the slab serif is exactly what I need right now. And then I'm going to continue with my design by shrinking the font significantly and continuing with the design. Then I will bring my fonts into the size I need, move them into place. And then I'll look for alternates. And I found another font that might be feasible for later, so I just made a right click and duplicated that layer, which has given me a second copy, which I can move out of the way for later. So right now I'm liking this font because it's very sensible. I'm going to turn on the other copy that I made so I can start there and my hunt for a new font. I also have one other loaded in the type tool, and I will see if that one is going to be any good. Except it looks too small right now. So let's change using the one we had. This copy character. Start moving through them. Actually, incremental change I need to make. So as you make sure that both letters are highlighted, highlight inside of your font selector and use the down arrow, you'll be able to go through and pick the font that you're looking for. I like that a little bit, but it's not quite crazy enough. We're looking for insane. So rather than do that route, I'm going to scroll through my many fonts here. That is a good way to separate your fonts in here, but you need so many all the time that many times I just leave them all together. and scroll through to find what I'm looking for at the time, because you generally have a visual idea, and I had seen one in the F series that I'm going to look for now, something like that. Almost not legible enough, okay? So we'll keep looking. Alright, I believe we found a font we'll go with for this exercise for Insane. Now I'm gonna tighten my leading on apparel. I'm gonna make it smaller. I'm gonna move it. Now, Insane. There's a line. I'm aligning the right edges here. Then for Insane, I'm gonna blow it up ever so slightly, because I don't want it to get confused with the main message. I want it to be obviously an apparel label. And to make sure of that, I'm going to add some space between the message and the apparel label, and actually I'm going to shrink that itself by hitting Control T while both layers are highlighted. Insane apparel. Moving the arrow keys to tightly move it. Apparel is going to be too small, so I'll duplicate the layer. It'll get blacker, I'll duplicate it again. It'll get blacker, and I'll duplicate it again, and it'll get blacker. And with that, we have the basis of our design. So what I would like to do now is not the easiest thing, but I will go to my shape tool, custom shape tool, and choose the custom stripes shape. I will go to a filled in path, and then I will click on the farthest left and drag, and I am going for both the volume of the stripe as well as the trajectory. And then I'm going to rasterize that layer by right clicking and go to rasterize layer. I'm going to take my selection tool, and draw around the section I would like to keep. And then I'm going to mask that. And I'm going to hit V and try to position that. And they're not quite thick enough for me, so I'm going to Alt Shift and drag, which will make a second layer. So I'm now duplicating them into thickness using my arrow keys to maneuver it so that I'm not having so much double edges, as you can see in these spots. I'm going to move it further apart and see how wide I can get. Okay, that's not bad. So with that, I'm going to highlight both of them and move the arrow key to see am I able to get most all of it on the screen. And it does, for the most part, be on the screen except for this small section over here. And so then I'll hit my apparels and make them a group by using a little down arrow and new group. called arrows, or apparel. Apparel is what that actually is. And we'll highlight insane and apparel and move it down a little bit. Still doing our best to keep that alignment on the right. We'll highlight our shapes and move those into place, which we actually do have the space to have it run off that edge. And we will eliminate these two. So we're going to convert that to a smart object and then rasterize the layer. Go to the eraser tool, make my brush bigger by hitting the right bracket, and then I'll erase those pieces. And in this case, I'm going to erase the incomplete one as well. I'll make my brush much bigger and erase all of that. Also erasing what's off the screen, I hope. And there we have our main shape, which can be converted back to a smart object. All of this has been fine because it's been paint the whole time. Insane apparel, little design going on. So I've gone through and used my brush tool. I chose a custom brush, and then I used the brush tool. When you have the brush selected, there's the brush palette that you can open. I chose a brush tip shape and I rotated the brush, and painted in all the different brush strokes that I needed. Now I am going to highlight by hitting Control and clicking on the layer. Then I'll go to the layer that I had and I will mask out the part that I don't need. Now I've got a pretty nice clean look. The insanity that I need is there. Insane apparel. And with that, we pretty much have a design. Now I can take that design, hold shift and select all the layers, duplicate the layers. Let's just duplicate the layers into a new, and then I will image mode grayscale, don't rasterize, don't merge, discard. I can actually image mode RGB again, because what we need to do, don't rasterize, don't merge, what we need to do is turn this into a smart object, convert to a smart object, and then color overlay this to a nice gray. Wait. Look at that funny stuff that happened. What we need to actually do is go back into our original, highlight the layer by right-clicking on the layer that's existing, and then we will Control-Shift-I to add a mask to the rest and mask out that out of our original. So we're dealing with a one color, not a two color. Okay, then we will duplicate it over again and convert it to a bitmap. And there you have it, converted to a bitmap. So I can change it back to grayscale, hit OK, then change it back to RGB, and then I can hold shift and drag it over into my original, so I can save it there by going select for the color range, selecting the black, hitting cancel and turning off all the other layers, then going select color range and selecting the black on 200 and masking it. And there is our design. There you have it. Ingenious.